Can we say Pixiv is finally dead or possibly avoiding dying at this point? There's been quite a bit of news kind of here and there that Pixiv is kind of doing certain restrictions, and it all kind of seems obvious who's sort of forcing these changes to happen. And that's unfortunately, yes, the credit card processing companies, all the banks and whatnot that are forcing these companies to sort of bend what they're selling, essentially. But this has got to be a whole new issue right here. This is just bad. Anyways, let's just get straight into it. Pixiv has made a tweet posting additions and updates to the terms of service related to restrictions to comply with regional laws. Keep that phrasing in mind. Regional laws will go into effect on April 25th, 2024. Let's click on it. Let's go to where this little news bit is. Announcing about updates and additions to the terms of use to comply with region laws. Again, region laws. Greetings from Pixiv. Starting April 25th, a new section, Restrictions on Unacceptable Content to Comply with Regional Laws, has been added to the Pixiv Terms of Use. This change will only affect users in countries and regions as set to US and UK only. Other users will not be affected by this change of terms of use. So it's basically saying, if you're in these two countries, that you're the only ones being applied to this whole situation. What are these changes? Let's look at it. Restrictions for healthy expressions in specific countries and regions. Healthy expressions. In using the services, users must comply with the various laws and regulations applicable in their country or region. Actions that violate the law and regulations of any country are not permitted when using the services. The actions listed below are examples of prohibited activities. However, these are not the only actions that the company may deem prohibited. Additionally, these restrictions may be modified at the discretion of the company in response to changes in society or the environment, or the amendments, or to amendments in law and regulations. There's so much wording about laws. So many wording about laws. Let's see what those laws are. Posting any content that depicts involving the exploitation of any of the persons under 18 years of age. This is something that I get, I kind of respond to a lot, where it's like one of those situations where I don't partake in it, but at the same time, I don't like where this leads. That's been my statement every time this whole thing comes up, and it's a lot with Pixiv. This whole issue with what deems it that age, who sees it and deems it that. That has always been the issue. And I had that same comment that I made with the whole Vice thing. The Vice's whole thing where they went to Japan and they filmed people without their consent, went into stores and broke the laws and all that kind of stuff. It was all for them to point that this idea, they create this in order to promote it. And my issue there was, it all comes down to, how can you create regulations around drawn fictional characters? Who deems what is what age, basically? That's the issue that always comes up there. And it's always that aspect of, you open the door. You're literally open the door to something that it's never going to end. It's never going to end to the point where everything becomes sanitized, and the only things that you have on this website is people that obviously are elderly people. And even that is probably going to be morally wrong. But yeah, number 2, post any content that appears to involve depicting of law in bad positions. Again, same argument. Post any content that depicts non-consensual activities, which that again goes in that whole realm of, somebody made a joke the other day. It was like this idea that it has to be labeled as they're consenting it. Like, these are fictional characters, and you have to have something in the art that says, like, they have to be holding up a form that says, I consent to this. Like, at what point are we going to have to actually have, like, consent forms for fictional characters that you draw? Like, what? Like, where does that come from? Where are we going here? Like, what's the end game is really what it comes down to. Post any content that is obscene, illegal, unlawful, fraudulent, defamatory, libelous, abusive, lewd, invasive, personal privacy and public rights, harassment, hateful, racially or ethically offensive, encourages conduct that would be considered a criminal offense, giving rise to civil liability, violation of any law, otherwise inappropriate. Some of this stuff is actually, like, in a lot of terms of service, and the idea that it pretty much allows the website itself to distance itself from any legal action by saying, we didn't want them to incite violence. We didn't want them to do this or that. So some of this stuff is sort of like legal talk that does technically exist in a lot of stuff, but some of this stuff is so, like, is this a legal term now? Is this a legal term now? We're gonna actually use lewd? This is literally going in the realm of, yes, if it's illegal, that makes sense. If it's unlawful, that makes sense. That it's pretty much the same thing here in a sense, sort of, not really legally, but a lot of this stuff is like, to who? Is it defamatory to who? Is it abusive to who? Is it lewd to who? Like, how are you labeling this stuff? How is this? This literally feels like a massive blanket to protect themselves and to push away any sort of liability here. But number 5 point is where things get really weird. Post any content that appeals to the prurient interest, is patently offensive in light of community standards where you are located, or where such content may be accessed or distributed, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value, or otherwise violates any applicable obscenity laws, rules, or regulations. What is this? Like, this is where I go back to that earlier statement. It's to go in lieu of laws. And then this 5th point here literally says it's not about laws. This is about certain groups that don't want you to look at naughty things. This is not laws. None of this is about the law. This is about their standards. And since this is restricted to strictly US and UK, we're talking banks here. We're literally talking about certain groups, as some label it as the woke culture. I don't really like using that term because I think it's become such a dumb word now. This is the groups that want to control your way of thinking. This is the groups that want you to follow their rules. They don't want you to follow the laws. They want you to follow their rules. And that is, we're going down a really bad rabbit hole. And unfortunately, I don't blame Pixiv. I think Pixiv is doing this so they get the hell out of there. They don't want you to look at this stuff. They don't want you to post this stuff. Stay off our platform. Because let's be perfectly honest. I mean, I haven't looked at Pixiv in a long time, but I'm assuming a lot of it, a lot of the traffic that people are looking for is going to be lewd and obscene. This is going to be stuff that people are looking for because they're not going to find it elsewhere. They're looking for the lewd stuff. And if the lewd stuff's not available or can't be posted, people go away from it. Again, I think this is literally them going, my assumption here is that it's Pixiv literally going, the banks keep coming to us and saying they're going to stop our transactions, and in order to get them to leave us alone, we're just going to cut off where they're coming from. We'll just keep it to ourselves. We'll get out of your countries. We'll get out of all that kind of stuff. Because again, none of this is about laws. This is about feelings. This is about what people feel is inappropriate. And that is a completely obscure term. Like there's no metrics here. How much is lewd? How much is too much skin? How much is what is this character's age? It just comes down to, we're going to wash our hands of this entire thing. We don't want to get involved anymore. You do whatever you want to do. We don't want to get involved anymore. Do whatever you want to do. And UK is pretty much the same thing. I think I read it earlier and most of it pretty much looked exactly the same. They're just basically saying, both of you, you're in the doghouse. Get out of here. We don't want you touching our platform anymore. This is literally them saying, stop using our platform, because we can't. They keep saying that we're doing things on our website, that we're too lewd, that we're offensive, and we can't have this on our platform anymore. And they're not going to let us do transactions anymore. So they're going to take away our ability to even do transactions. So we can't do business with you anymore. And that's the unfortunate thing that is going to come. This is the sad thing. This is going to happen with everything. Eventually, this will, unfortunately, if this has happened to Pixiv, this is eventually going to happen with everything. And I think it's always depending on how big the company is that they fall first. And eventually it will come for the bigger companies and the bigger companies. And eventually we're going to get to that point where, who knows? Them telling Sony to get inappropriate things off of Crunchyroll, to get inappropriate things off of High Dive, to get inappropriate things off of here, there. It eventually comes for everything. And that's the sad thing. I hope Pixiv has enough of an audience outside of the US and UK. I assume it's really big in Japan. But this could actually destroy them. But we'll see. But that's that's the deal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. Let me know what you think of this whole situation. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content, you want to support the channel more, have a Patreon link, tips, links, so thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it, it does. And y'all take care.